My name is Emily Carter. I'm 30 years old, and until last Christmas, I honestly believed there was a limit to how cruel a family could be while still calling it love. I was standing in my parents' dining room with a paper plate in my hand, surrounded by 30 relatives, when my mother tapped a champagne flute with a butter knife and announced that everyone needed to help make Sarah's dream wedding happen. Then she turned to me, not toward the room, not toward my father, toward me. Emily, she said sweetly, your contribution will be $93,000. I laughed because I thought it had to be a joke. Nobody else laughed. My father pushed back his chair, stood up like he was about to make a toast, and said, "Every person at this table agrees. You owe her this." My fork slipped from my hand and hit the hardwood floor. Across the room, Sarah covered her mouth, but I could see the smile hiding behind her fingers. My mother walked closer and lowered her voice just enough to sound private while still making sure every relative heard it. "Pay for your sister's wedding," she said, "or you are dead to this family." The room went quiet in that awful way people go quiet when they want to watch you bleed, but don't want to admit they enjoy it. And the worst part? That wasn't even the moment that broke me. It was what my mother whispered next. Something she thought would finally make me obey. Before I tell you what she said, and what happened after I walked out, tell me, what time is it for you right now, and where are you watching from? I'm curious to see how far this story will travel. I didn't answer my mother right away. I just stood there in the dining room, staring at the tiny red bow tied around Sarah's wrist, the same bow every bridesmaid had apparently been given that evening. I hadn't received one. Nobody had told me there was a bridal announcement. Nobody had told me half the family had arrived early to celebrate her engagement. I had been invited at the last minute with a text that said, "Don't be late, your sister needs you." That was how it always started. Sarah needed something, and I was expected to appear like a spare battery. Useful, quiet, replaceable. My mother's whispered sentence still burned in my ear. "After everything we sacrificed by keeping you, this is the least you can do." Keeping me. Not raising me. Not loving me. Keeping me. I looked at her face, powdered and smiling like she had not just stabbed me in front of 30 relatives, and suddenly my childhood rearranged itself in my head. All the strange comments, all the careful silences, all the times I was told to be grateful for leftovers while Sarah received love like an inheritance. My father cleared his throat and said, "Emily, don't make this dramatic." That was when I set the paper plate down. My hands were shaking, but my voice came out calm. "I need air." Sarah let out a soft little sob, as if my need to breathe had ruined her wedding. My mother grabbed my sleeve. "You walk out that door, don't come crawling back." I looked at her hand, then at the relatives pretending not to stare. "I'm not crawling anywhere," I said. I drove home through freezing rain with no music on and my phone lighting up every few minutes. Mom, Dad, unknown number, Aunt Marlene, Cousin Greg, Sarah, then Mom again. I didn't pick up. When I got to my apartment, I locked the door, leaned against it, and slid to the floor with my coat still on. That was when I noticed the old gray safe box under my bookshelf. It had belonged to my grandmother. She gave it to me when I was 16, after a family party where Sarah got a necklace and I got a lecture about humility. "One day," Grandma had whispered, pressing the key into my hand, "you'll need to remember what really happened." I had never opened it because I was afraid it would prove I had not imagined any of it. I sat cross-legged on the floor and turned the tiny brass key. Inside were envelopes, old photographs, birthday cards, school papers, and a folded note written in my grandmother's careful handwriting. The first photo was Sarah at age 7, wearing a crown at her birthday party, sitting on my father's shoulders while everyone clapped. In the corner, I was standing near the kitchen door holding a trash bag bigger than my body. I remembered that day clearly. At 7, I still thought helping meant belonging. I thought if I carried enough plates, smiled enough, disappeared enough, someone would eventually say, "Emily, Come here. This is your family too. Nobody did. On the back of the photo, Grandma had written, Emily cleaned the whole party. Linda said Sarah deserved to feel special. The next envelope held 2 report cards. Sarah's had average grades and a note from her teacher about needing more focus. Mine had straight A's and a recommendation for an advanced summer writing academy. Stapled to mine was a letter I had never seen before. Across the top, in my mother's handwriting, were the words, "Too expensive. Sarah's dance camp first." I remembered that summer. Sarah hated dance camp after 3 days, and my parents bought her a new bedroom set to cheer her up. I spent July babysitting neighbors' kids and telling myself writing was just a hobby anyway. Then I found a bank statement from when I was 17. My name was on it. Education savings account. I had asked about that account before college, and my parents told me there was never much in it. But the statement showed almost $40,000, deposits from my grandmother, withdrawals over 2 years. Beside one withdrawal, my father had written, Sarah Carr. Beside another, Sarah Pageant Coaching. Beside another, Engagement Fund Start? My stomach turned. This was not simple favoritism. Favoritism was buying one child better gifts. This was theft dressed up as parenting. At the bottom of the box was Grandma's note. Emily, if you are reading this, it means they have finally asked too much. Your parents will tell you love means sacrifice. Be careful. In this family, sacrifice has always meant Emily pays and Sarah smiles. I tried to protect the money I left for you, but your mother found ways around me. I kept copies. Do not let them turn your kindness into a contract. I read the last sentence 3 times. My phone buzzed again. Sarah's message said, Mom is crying. You're embarrassing everyone. Just say yes and we'll move on. Not, are you okay? Not, that was unfair. Just say yes. Move on. That was when something inside me shifted. I didn't feel healed. I didn't feel brave. I felt awake. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, there were 47 missed calls and a group chat filled with relatives I barely knew. Your mother is devastated. It's just money, Emily. Don't be selfish. Around noon, my father left a voicemail that began calm and ended with him shouting, You will come back tonight. Apologize to your mother and tell Sarah you're paying. This family does not negotiate with disrespect. I played it twice, not because I enjoyed hearing him angry, but because I needed to remind myself that fear had been mistaken for authority my entire life. That evening, I went back. Not to surrender, but to see their faces when I finally stopped performing. The house was fuller than the night before. Word had spread. The entire family seemed to be waiting for Act 2. Sarah's wedding mood board was displayed on the television like a corporate pitch. Vineyard venue, imported flowers, custom napkins, string quartet, designer cake. $93,000 written in gold font beside it all. My mother saw me and pressed her hand to her chest. Emily, she breathed, like I had returned from war instead of a 10-minute drive. Sarah rushed over in a cream sweater and diamond earrings, eyes already wet. She hugged me without permission and whispered, Please don't ruin this for me. I stepped back. You ruined it when you let them demand $93,000 from me. The room froze. Sarah's tears spilled right on cue. My mother gasped. How can you speak to your sister like that? My father pointed toward the dining table. Sit down. I didn't. That disturbed him more than anything I could have said. My whole life, he stood, and I sat. He spoke, and I listened. He pointed, and I moved. That night, I stayed standing. No, I said. My mother swayed dramatically and grabbed the back of a chair. I feel faint. Sarah cried harder. My father stepped toward me. Look what you're doing to your mother. I looked at her carefully. Her eyes were shut, but one hand was still adjusting her bracelet. She wasn't fainting. She was staging. If Mom is sick, call an ambulance, I said. Her eyes snapped open. Nobody moved. That was the first crack in the performance. My father's face darkened. Enough. Then he turned toward everyone and raised his voice. Emily has forgotten what family means. She has benefited from this family her entire life, and now when her sister has one special moment, she wants to play victim. Before, those words would have crushed me. Now I just heard a man protecting the version of the story that made him innocent. I touched the folder in my bag, the one holding copies from Grandma's box, but I didn't pull it out yet. Not in a room where they could grab, deny, twist, and scream over me. Instead, I asked, "Dad, what exactly did I benefit from?" He laughed. "A roof, food, clothes, stability." I nodded. "So the legal minimum of parenting." A gasp moved through the room. My mother's face hardened. "You ungrateful girl." There it was. The real voice. Not sweet, not fragile, sharp as broken glass. "I carried you. I fed you. I gave up my peace for you. And you stand here counting money?" I refused to cry. "No, Mom. You counted money first. $93,000, remember?" Sarah stood suddenly. "It's my wedding, Emily. For once, can you not make everything about you?" I stared at her. "For once? Name one day in this family that was about me." She opened her mouth, then closed it. My father answered for her. "This attitude is exactly why people find you difficult." That should have broken me. Instead, it made me calm. "Then let me make this easy," I said. "I am not paying for the wedding. Not $1. Not one deposit. Not one emergency transfer when the florist realizes Sarah wants imported peonies in December. I am done being the backup account for this family." My mother's mouth trembled with rage. "Then you are choosing to leave us." I looked around at faces that had watched me be diminished for years and called it peace. "No," I said. "I'm choosing to leave the job you gave me." My father slammed his palm on the table. "You walk out now, and you lose us forever." I picked up my coat. "That sounds less like a threat than you think." Behind me, Sarah screamed, "You'll come back when you realize nobody else will love you like we do." I turned at the door and smiled just a little. That's exactly what I'm afraid of. Then I walked out while the house erupted behind me. The next morning, my phone was dead. When I plugged it in, it woke up like a machine gun. Missed calls, voicemails, texts. My mother sobbing, my father ordering, Sarah whispering that I was destroying her mental health, Aunt Marlene calling me cruel, Cousin Greg saying I had main character syndrome. By noon, I had blocked 6 numbers, but new ones started appearing. That was the day I learned how fast a family can organize when the goal is not love, but control. I almost hid under a blanket, but Grandma's note was still on my kitchen table. "Do not let them turn your kindness into a contract." So I made an appointment with an attorney. Her name was Vivian Shaw, and she had the calm expression of someone who had watched families destroy themselves over money and still managed to eat lunch afterward. I expected a cold legal conversation. She did say the practical things. I had no legal obligation to pay. I should document everything, and I should stop answering calls. But when I showed her the bank statements from Grandma's box, her expression changed. She leaned closer, read the names, read the dates, then looked up at me. "Where did you get these?" I told her about the safe box, the education account, the wedding demand, and my mother's words. Vivian tapped one finger against the paper. "Emily, this may not just be emotional manipulation." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" She opened a legal pad. "When a relative creates funds for a specific beneficiary, especially for education, the details matter. Who controlled the account? Who withdrew money? Were there written terms? Did your grandmother leave a will?" I said I didn't know. Vivian studied me. "Who handled your grandmother's estate?" I almost laughed. "My mother." Vivian's pen stopped moving. "Of course she did." Something in her tone made my skin prickle. "Do you know my family?" She hesitated for half a second. "I met your grandmother once. Years ago. She was worried one of her daughters would pressure the wrong grandchild into giving up an inheritance. The room seemed to tilt. The wrong grandchild? Vivian folded her hands. I can't discuss confidential details without documents, but if your grandmother left instructions and those instructions were ignored, you may have options. I gave her grandma's note. She read it slowly, and her face softened. Your grandmother loved you, she said. That sentence hit harder than any legal revelation. Someone outside the family had said it plainly, without adding a condition. Before I left, Vivian asked, "Do they have any vendors expecting your payment?" I blinked. What? Wedding vendors. Venue, caterer, planner, dress shop. Did your family tell them you were paying? A sick realization spread through me. Sarah had always liked spending money before she had it. My parents had always liked promising money before asking me. Vivian saw my face and nodded. Find out. Quietly. 2 days later, I received an email from a luxury vineyard venue congratulating me on sponsoring the Preston Miller wedding experience. Preston was Sarah's fiancé. I called the coordinator and asked what they had on file. My mother had listed me as the primary family contributor. The deposit had not been made yet, but the date was being held because my family promised funds by Friday. Then I called the florist. Same story. The caterer. Same story. The bridal salon. Worse. Sarah had chosen a custom gown and told them, "My sister handles the financial side." My signature was not on anything, but my name was everywhere. By the end of the week, I had screenshots, emails, vendor notes, and voicemails. Then Sarah sent the message that changed everything. At 1:17 a.m., she wrote, "You're being dramatic. Mom said Grandma left you money anyway, so stop acting broke. You don't even need it." I sent it to Vivian. Her reply came 10 minutes later. "Do not respond. This is important." The next morning, Vivian called. "Emily, I pulled public probate records. There was a will." I gripped the phone. "And?" Vivian paused. "Your grandmother left you more than an education fund. She left you the lake house." I couldn't speak. The lake house was where Sarah wanted her bridal photos taken. The lake house my mother claimed had been sold years ago. Vivian continued, "It was transferred after your grandmother died. Not to you. To a trust controlled by your mother." My mouth went dry. "Can she do that?" Vivian said, "That depends on documents we need to obtain. But Emily, listen carefully. Your sister's dream wedding may be built on property that was never supposed to belong to them." Once I knew about the lake house, everything became clearer and uglier. Sarah's venue board had included sunset photos by the water. Her invitations mentioned a private family estate. My mother had told relatives the wedding would honor Grandma. Honor her. They were planning to use property she may have left to me, while demanding I pay $93,000 to be erased there. I wanted to storm into my parents' house with Vivian's paperwork and burn every lie down in one speech, but Vivian told me not to. "Let them keep talking," she said. "People who think they're winning love to create evidence." The next piece of evidence came as an invitation to Sarah's final dress fitting. My mother texted from a new number. "You need to attend. This is your last chance to repair the damage." I ignored it. Then Sarah sent a voice message crying softly. Please. I know things got intense. I just want my sister there." For 1 second, the old me almost answered. Then she added, "And the salon needs your card on file before alterations." There it was. The hook under the ribbon. I replied with one sentence. "I'll come to talk, not to pay." She sent a heart emoji. I stared at it until it looked like a warning label. The bridal salon was all marble floors, velvet chairs, and soft, expensive voices. Sarah stood on a platform in a dress that probably cost more than my first car, while my mother dabbed her eyes and told the consultant, "Our Emily is finally here. She's had a hard time accepting her role, but family always comes around." I walked in wearing a black coat, carrying a folder. My father was there too, which surprised me, but then I understood. He hated shopping, But he loved public pressure. Aunt Marlene sat near the mirrors with two cousins, ready to witness my surrender. The consultant approached with a tablet. We just need to confirm the payment method for the alterations package and the remaining gown balance. My mother placed a hand on my arm. Emily will handle that. I looked at the consultant. No, Emily will not. Sarah's bride's smile vanished. Seriously? She hissed. My mother laughed nervously. She's joking. I said, I'm not. My father rose from his chair. This is not the place. I looked around at the mirrors reflecting us from every angle. Actually, Dad, this is perfect. Everyone keeps putting my name on bills. I'd like everyone to hear me remove it. Sarah stepped down from the platform, her dress pooling around her. You are humiliating me. No, I said. I'm correcting a financial misunderstanding. My mother's voice dropped. Emily, don't you dare. I opened the folder just enough to show printed emails from the venue, florist, caterer, and salon. I contacted every vendor. None of them has my signature. None has my authorization. If anyone attempts to charge me, use my name, or claim I agreed to sponsor this wedding, my attorney will respond. The word attorney moved through the room like cold wind. Aunt Marlene stopped filming. Yes, she had been filming. I looked at her phone. You can keep recording. Please do. My father's face turned red. You brought legal threats to your sister's dress fitting? I said. You brought financial fraud to mine. My mother snapped. Fraud? How dare you use that word? I placed Sarah's message about Grandma's money on the glass table. Since we're discussing words, let's discuss this one. Inheritance. Sarah went pale. My mother's eyes flicked toward my father. It was tiny, but I saw it. My father said too quickly, This has nothing to do with your grandmother. I tilted my head. Really? Because Sarah's wedding website says the ceremony will be held at Grandma's lake house. The consultant whispered, Oh my. Sarah looked at my mother. Mom? For the first time in my life, Sarah looked unsure whether our mother could save her. Then Sarah attacked. You're jealous, she said. You hate that people love me. You hate that I'm getting married. You hate that I'm happy. I looked at her beautiful dress, her trembling hands, her expensive tears. Sarah, I said quietly, are you happy? The question landed harder than an accusation. Her eyes flashed with panic. My mother snapped, Don't psychoanalyze your sister. But I had seen the crack. Sarah wasn't just spoiled. She was trapped too, in a golden cage built by people who only loved her when she performed perfection. Then she whispered, Just pay it, Emily. Please. If this wedding falls apart, everyone will know. Not, I love him. Not, I want this marriage. Everyone will know. I closed the folder. Then let them know. My mother lunged for my arm, but the consultant stepped between us. Ma'am, please don't touch her. That embarrassed my mother more than anything I had said. My father started shouting. Aunt Marlene tried to sneak out. Sarah cried so hard the seamstress had to lift the hem to keep mascara from staining the dress. I walked to the door, then turned back. One more thing. Do not contact me again unless it's through my attorney. My mother screamed, You are dead to us. This time, I didn't flinch. Then stop calling your ghost for money, I said, and left. They did not stop calling. They multiplied. By the next morning, I had 63 missed calls. By lunch, 98. By midnight, 122. There were 54 voicemails, most from my mother, some sobbing so loudly I could barely understand her. Emily, please, your sister hasn't eaten. Emily, the venue needs the deposit. Emily, your father's blood pressure is up. Emily, how can you do this before Christmas? Then came the texts from relatives. You're killing your mother. Sarah is inconsolable. You made your father look like a criminal. That one almost made me laugh. I didn't make him look like anything. I just stopped helping him hide. But the real punishment came online. Sarah posted a vague message about heartbreak when the person you trust most abandons you during your wedding journey. My mother shared it with crying emojis. Aunt Marlene commented, "Some daughters forget who raised them." Within hours, cousins, church friends, neighbors, and strangers were calling me greedy, bitter, jealous, and cold. Someone wrote, "Imagine refusing to help your sister on the happiest day of her life." I wanted to reply, "Imagine stealing from one daughter to decorate the other." But Vivian told me to wait. "Let them defame you publicly," she said. "Screenshots are useful." So I saved everything. Every accusation, every lie, every post implying I had promised money and backed out. 3 days later, my family escalated. My manager called me into her office with a concerned expression. "Emily, I received an email from your mother." My stomach dropped. My mother had written that I was mentally unstable, that I was harassing my sister, and that I might misuse company funds because I was under financial stress. My manager slid the printed email across the desk. "I don't believe this," she said gently, "but I needed you to know." I thanked her, walked to the restroom, locked myself in a stall, and shook so hard my teeth clicked. That was the moment healing ended and revenge began. I sent the email to Vivian. Her reply was immediate. "This is actionable. Do you want to proceed?" I stared at those words. Do you want to proceed? There was power in being asked instead of ordered. My whole life, decisions had been made around me, over me, through me. Now someone was asking what I wanted. I typed, "Yes." Within 24 hours, Vivian sent formal cease and desist letters to my parents, Sarah, Aunt Marlene, and 2 relatives who had publicly accused me of fraud. She also contacted the vendors and clarified that I had no financial responsibility for the wedding. The venue released the date when no deposit arrived. The florist canceled the floral hold. The dress salon paused alterations pending payment. Sarah's dream wedding began collapsing one invoice at a time. Then the estate documents came in. Vivian called on a Thursday afternoon. "Emily," she said, "your grandmother's will is clear. The lake house was left to you. Your mother had temporary administrative authority, not ownership." I sat down before my knees could fail. "We can challenge the transfer," Vivian added. I looked at the gray safe box on my table. For years, my family had treated my memory like it was unreliable, too sensitive, too dramatic, too selfish. But paper remembered. Signatures remembered. Dates remembered. My grandmother remembered. "Do it," I said. The legal filing hit my family like a thunderclap. My father left a voicemail so furious it sounded like he might break the phone. "You are suing your own mother over a house you don't even use?" My mother left one that sounded small. "Emily, Grandma wanted the family to enjoy that place." I whispered to the empty room. "No, she wanted me to have something nobody could take." Sarah called from an unknown number. "Do you understand what you've done? The wedding website is down. Preston's parents are asking questions. Everyone is asking questions." I said, "Maybe you should answer them." Sarah went quiet. Then she said, "You don't know what it's like to have everyone expecting you to be perfect." I closed my eyes. "No," I said. "I know what it's like to be expected to disappear so someone else can look perfect." The public collapse came faster than I expected. Aunt Marlene, trying to defend the family online, posted a long rant about ungrateful heirs and accidentally mentioned that the lake house had always morally belonged to Sarah because she was closer to the family image. People noticed. Then someone asked why Sarah's wedding was being hosted at a property under legal dispute. Someone else asked why my mother had contacted my employer. The comments shifted. Wait, did they use her inheritance? Why is the sister demanding $93,000? Why would a mom email her daughter's boss? Sarah deleted her post. My mother deleted hers. Aunt Marlene deleted everything, but screenshots had already spread. Preston called me 2 days later. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. He sounded exhausted. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't know the money situation was like this." He told me Sarah had said I offered to pay as my special gift. My parents said the lake house was already promised to Sarah. His parents had put down money for other expenses based on those claims. Then he asked, "Did Sarah know?" I thought about her text at 1:17 a.m. "Mom said Grandma left you money anyway." "Yes," I said. "Maybe not all of it, but enough." He was quiet for a long time. 2 weeks later, the engagement was over. By January, my family looked nothing like the one that had surrounded me at Christmas dinner. The wedding was canceled. Sarah moved back into my parents' house and stopped posting online. My father resigned from 2 community boards after people began whispering about the estate dispute and the email to my workplace. My mother, who had spent years curating the image of a perfect family, stopped attending church for a while because people were asking questions. I didn't celebrate those things the way people might expect. Revenge stories make justice sound like fireworks. Sometimes it feels quieter. Sometimes it feels like sitting in your apartment, drinking coffee, and realizing your phone has not rung in 3 hours. Vivian eventually negotiated a settlement that returned legal control of the lake house to me. There were financial details I won't share, but my parents had to acknowledge in writing that I was not responsible for Sarah's wedding costs, that I had not agreed to sponsor the event, and that they would stop contacting my workplace, vendors, friends, and relatives about me. That written acknowledgement mattered more than money. It was the first time their version of reality had been forced to sit down and sign its name under the truth. When I received the final copy, I drove to the lake house alone. It was smaller than I remembered, with peeling blue paint, a crooked porch step, and frozen weeds along the path. But when I unlocked the door, I cried. Not because it was beautiful, because it was mine. Because Grandma had tried to leave me proof that I was worth protecting. Inside, I found pencil marks on the kitchen doorway from when Sarah and I were little. Sarah's name appeared several times, circled with hearts. Mine was lower, faint, almost rubbed away. Emily, age 8. Emily, age 10. Emily, age 12. I wondered who stopped marking my height after that. Maybe nobody noticed I was still growing. Sarah wrote first. Not a call. A letter. She said she hated me for what happened, then said she hated herself more for needing the wedding so badly. She admitted she knew Mom had used money meant for me when we were younger, but said she convinced herself it was okay because you always seemed stronger. That line made me put the letter down and walk away for an hour. Stronger. How many people use that word when they mean easier to neglect? She wrote that Preston left because he couldn't trust her, and that she didn't blame him. At the end, she wrote, I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I knew. It was not enough to rebuild a relationship, but it was enough to confirm I had not imagined the cruelty. My mother's final voicemail came 3 days later. I call it final because it was the last one I listened to. She sounded older, but not softer. Emily, she said, I hope you're happy. You got the house. You got your apology on paper. You got everyone looking at me like I'm some monster. Then she started crying. For a second, I felt the old reflex rise in me. Comfort her, fix it, make myself smaller so she could feel bigger. Then she said, I only did what I thought was best for this family. That killed the reflex, because what was best for the family had always meant what protected her image, funded Sarah's fantasy, and kept me useful. I deleted the voicemail. Then I blocked the number. My father sent one email. No greeting, no apology, just 3 sentences. You have made your point. Your mother is suffering. When you are ready to act like a daughter again, contact us. I did not reply. I printed it, put it in the folder with everything else, and labeled the folder Reasons. Not because I plan to obsess over it forever, but because healing sometimes requires evidence too. Evidence that you were hurt. Evidence that you left for a reason. Evidence that loneliness is not the same as making the wrong choice. The lake house is quiet now. I go there on weekends. Sometimes I write on the porch with a blanket over my knees. Sometimes I just sit and listen to the water moving under the dock. Tara came the first weekend after the settlement and brought a cheap bottle of sparkling cider. We drank it from mismatched mugs because I didn't own champagne glasses. She looked around the dusty kitchen and said, "Grandma would be proud." I wanted to believe that. I think I do. As for Sarah, I haven't seen her in person. Part of me hopes she builds a life that is not made of performance and invoices. Part of me is still angry enough to hope she remembers that dress fitting every time she tries to turn someone else into a staircase. Both things can be true. Healing does not require me to become innocent of anger. It only requires me to stop letting anger drive me back into the same burning house. People ask if I miss my family. The honest answer is complicated. I miss the family I kept trying to earn. I miss the fantasy where my mother hugged me without calculating, where my father defended me without needing an audience, where Sarah loved me as a sister instead of treating me like an emergency fund. But I do not miss the real thing. I do not miss the calls. I do not miss the guilt. I do not miss being told that love was measured by how much of myself I could hand over without complaint. So here is what I learned. When someone says, "Do this or you are no longer family," they are not offering love. They are revealing the contract you were never allowed to read. And when every person at the table agrees that you owe your life to someone else's dream, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stand up, leave the table, and let them call 122 times a day until they finally understand that you are not coming back as their bank, their scapegoat, or their obedient daughter. And maybe that is the question I still carry. If a family only calls you family when you pay, obey, and disappear, what exactly are you losing when you walk away?
Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. All events and characters are fictional and created only for entertainment, education, and reflection. We hope it reminds you that being rejected by the wrong people can sometimes open the door to the right life, the right peace, and the version of yourself you were always meant to become.